All right, the next question is from Gadlaw. He says, I clicked on the first part of the 25 country licks, and you gave a dizzying listing of what you use to include the light strings and a bunch of pedals. All right, I can get light strings easily, but what would be a good investment to start out with? I was also wondering about the gauge of the strings you use and why. I'm also wondering about how much of the tone comes from the telly and how much is in the amplifier you have. Are you using pedals at all to get your sound, and what would be the settings? I'm rolling with an American Strat and a micro cube amp myself.
Well, you know, it's interesting. Everything, we have a chain of stuff going on. You've got the strings, of course, the guitar itself, the pickups, even the wire, okay, the pedals, the amp, everything contributes to the tone and the way you play. So let me help get you started here. I like to use 10s, 10, 13, 17, 26, 36, 46. Recently, I've been using the 10.5 set. Denario's making a 10.5 set, and that's something you might want to look into. I think it's 10.5, 14, 18. I haven't even memorized the gauges yet. I just know that I like that 10.5 set. I try to keep the wires short. The longer the wires you're using, that 1/4-inch jack, the longer that is, the more signal you're going to lose. My go-to pedal is a Boss compressor, but it's the old one, the CS2. It's still analog. The newer ones are digital, and they sound brittle. So I would say get yourself a really good compressor. You can get a better one than I've got. Get a tube compressor, and that's a good way to go. The amps, I'm using tube amps all the time. I've been using Deluxes, Twins, the Boogie Lone Star, any of those tube amps, and I prefer those with the 6L6s instead of the EL34s. So the EL34 is kind of like the Marshall type sound. And yes, I've plugged into a Marshall and got a good sound out of those too. So I don't want to say I don't get a good sound there. But I prefer, and it could be a small amp. It doesn't have to be very powerful, 20 watts, 40 watts. Depends what you're doing and how much power you need. Now, did I get everything in this question? There were a lot of things in there. The list of effects. I do like using a little bit of delay and reverb. A long time ago when I shot that, you're right, I had a whole string of pedals. And right now I'm using the compressor, which is on almost all the time. I do have a distortion pedal, which is hardly on. And I'm using a delay where I tap in the tempo and a reverb pedal. You know what else I forgot though? The pickups. I'm using Seymour Duncan Alnico 2s. And again, the pickups have a lot to do with your sound, of course, as well.